Hello everyone. In this video, we will be solving previous year UGC NET Computer Science question paper. This is a good news for everyone that we have started online live classes for UGC NET exam preparation. So these will be live video classes and the courses consist of live sessions distributed over the course period. And sessions will also be in recorded format. So whatever classes we have done, you can watch those classes live and even after the session. So it will be providing a personalized learning. We will be having a private discussion forum and the classroom environment. So if you want to enroll for this live UGC NET Plus course, then you can visit our website or call on the numbers provided in this video. And if you want to download the presentation PPT that is used in this video, please visit our website www.digimentor.com. From there, in the download section, you can get the free study material, or you can also check out our courses and the live classes information. Let us start with the following video.
Question number 15 is, when the inheritance is private, the private methods in base class are whether it is accessible, inaccessible, protected or public in the derived class in C++. Okay. As you know that inheritance basically hota kya hai? Inheritance, it is a capability of a class to derive properties and characteristics from the other class. ठीक है, अगर कोई क्लास A है, उसकी कोई प्रॉपर्टीज है, उसकी कोई करेक्टरिस्टिक्स है, अगर वो करेक्टरिस्टिक्स हम किसी और क्लास के अंदर भी लेके आ रहे हैं तो उसे हम कह रहे हैं इनहेरिटेंस. जिससे हम प्रॉपर्टीज और करेक्टरिस्टिक्स हम जिससे इनहेरिट कर रहे हैं उस क्लास को हम कहते हैं बेस क्लास. And this class B, the class that inherit properties from the another class, from the base class, this class we named as derived class. Okay. Now we have three modes of inheritance. Modes of inheritance. We have three modes of inheritance. The first one is public. The second one is private, and the third one is protected. Okay. As you know that in a class consists of two things. First is data members and the second thing is methods, right? Now if in a class some data members are there, some methods are there, right? And if it is in a public mode, then if the base class is in the public mode, then the derived class are able to access all the data members which is present in the base class. Okay. If the base class in the private, if the data members of the base class is in the private mode, okay, then you can say then the derived class is not able to access the data members which is private. And in the protected mode, if the data members in the protected mode, then although it's very similar to the private mode, but there is one additional benefit that it can be accessed by the derived class. तो derived class के जो भी member जो derived class है are able to access the members which is present in the base class. ठीक है, तो इसमें क्या है कि public के अंदर we are able to members, I'm writing here, members are accessible if the base class in the public mode, and if it's in the protected mode, then yes, only the derived. इसमें तो क्या है कि child, whether it's a derived class or other class, all type of classes are able to access that members which is present in the base class, right? And protected में क्या है कि there is a slight difference कि only and only derived class are able to access the members of base class. No other classes able to access that members. Okay. तो इसमें भी क्या है कि members are accessible only for derived class. And what about the private class? Private class means if the data members are defined in the private mode, then in that case derived class is not able to access the members of the base class. Okay, now come back to the question. When the inheritance is private, मतलब ये वाला mode, right? When the inheritance is private, the private method in base class, the private methods in the base class, मतलब methods हो या data members हो, मैंने कहा था कि class consists of two things. First is data members and the second thing is methods. Methods में you can say member functions are present, right? So if the private you can say the base class के जो methods है in a private mode में है, so क्या derived class are able to access it or not? So I have already discussed you that in the private mode the derived class are not able to access any data members or whether it's a method. So it is a inaccessible, whether it's a derived class or any other class, right? Now so right option is option A. Okay, now let's come to the question number 16. When an assertion is a predicate expressing a condition we wish database to always satisfy, the correct syntax for assertion is what? Okay, so let's discuss about what is assertion and then we will come back to this question. So in the simple words, if I define assertion, then basically assertion is a constraint which we apply on the database. Okay, so or you can say that an assertion is a predicate expressing a condition we wish in the database to we wish database to always satisfy it. Okay, so basically assertion is a predicate in a database when we create assertion so that we check the conditions before doing any type of operations like insertion, updation, anything in the database. Okay, so what we are going to do is first we create the assertion, then we use the assertion, right? Then we use the assertions. I'm taking one SQL statement. The statement is like create an assertion. The demand is that there is no more than one team leader among the employees. Okay, so first create the constraint, which is the assertion, right? So create, the syntax is create assertion, create assertion, this is a constraint, at most one team leader. Okay, this is a constraint and then we check the condition, so assertion always check for the condition. So this is the condition. Now the condition is anything like select, count, star, from the table, employee, where e.job is equal to team leader. Okay, and some more you can say some other condition is there, right? So in this way you can simply say that assertion is a you can say it is a constraint and we check the condition after creating the assertion. Okay, so this is the syntax for the assertion. First we create the assertion, then we check the predicate, means then we check the condition. Okay, so option 1 is the right one. Okay, because first we create the assertion, then assertion name, like in this example the assertion name is at most one team leader, then we check the predicate means condition. Okay, so that's why option 1 is the right one. Question number 17 is, which of the following concurrency protocol ensures both conflict serializability and freedom from deadlock? The first one is two-phase locking protocol and the second one is timestamp ordering. So first is locking protocols. Let's talk about the locking protocols and check whether it's a conflict serializable and it is free from the deadlock, right? So as you know that we have, if we talk about the two-phase locking protocol, two-phase locking protocol. So we have different variations in the two-phase locking protocols. Like we have a basic two-phase locking protocol, strict two-phase locking protocol, rigorous two-phase locking protocol, conservative two-phase locking protocol. Let's talk about basic two-phase locking protocols. So in the two-phase locking protocols, if we talk about the basic, I'm writing the short form 2PL, two-phase locking protocol. So in this protocol we have two phases. First phase is growing phase. First phase is growing phase and the second phase is shrinking phase. Shrinking phase. So in the growing phase only we lock the data before using it. Only locks the data item before using it, and in the shrinking phase we are only unlock, or you can say release the lock, right? Now the schedule which is in two-phase locking protocol, it guarantee that it is a conflict serializable schedule. Okay, so just keep in this point in your mind, that the schedule which is in two-phase locking protocol, it is guaranteed that it is a conflict serializable schedule, right? Now let's take one example first. There is one schedule. There is T1, T2 and T3 are three transactions, and there is a read A is here, and this is a read C, write A, now write B, read B, and there is write C. In the locking protocols we have two type of locking is there. The first one is shared locking and the second one is exclusive locking. In the shared locking we are only able to read the item, and in the exclusive locking we are able to read and we are able to write the data item. Now first transaction T1 is there. Now T1 wants to read this item A only. So for that we are using only this type of locking, shared locking, right? So I'm applying the shared lock on this item, okay? And keep this thing in your mind that we are in the growing phase. If we are in the growing phase, then we are only able to lock the data items, right? Once we unlock the items, we are not able to again lock the data items, right? Now so this is in the shared lock we are reading it, and after read this item we are going to unlock it. But if we are unlock it, then we are not able to again apply the growing phase, lock this data item to read this data item. So I'm not going to unlock this, and again this is read C, so I'm applying the shared lock C here, and this is write A. So this transaction T3 wants to write this data item A, which is read by this transaction T1, and there is a shared lock on the A. But we are not able to unlock this data item because after some time I have to lock these data items because I am at growing phase. So once I am at growing phase, I am only able to lock the data items, right? So here I'm I'm not able to use this, so this request is going to be denied according to the two-phase locking protocol. Okay, so if in the whole schedule if there is one deny there, अगर एक भी deny है, then we can say that this schedule is not in a two-phase locking protocol. कि ये 2 फेज लॉकिंग प्रोटोकॉल में नहीं है, बिकॉज दिस डेटा आइटम वी आर नॉट एबल टू राइट इट, बिकॉज अभी ये अनलॉक नहीं हुआ है. अगर मान लो यहाँ पर राइट भी नहीं होता तो देन ही इज एबल टू अनलॉक इट, देन ही इज एबल टू राइट इट. इसके ऊपर वो एक्सक्लूसिव लॉक लगा सकता था, बट नाउ इज नॉट एबल टू do this, so there is deny, and this schedule is not in the 2 phase locking protocol. May or may not be it is a serializable, but for sure it is not a 2 phase locking protocol. So I'm writing here, which is very important point, so just note it down. Note is just write here, if the schedule is in the 2 phase locking protocol, then it is conflict serializable. ये गारंटी है. अगर आपका स्केड्यूल 2 phase locking protocol में है, then it should be conflict serializable. अगर 2 phase locking protocol में नहीं है, then it may or may not be serializable. ठीक है. Now the second statement is whether it is free from the deadlock or not. Let's check with the help of example. Now let's suppose we have 2 transactions, T1 and T2. First T1 wants to read this item, then T2 wants to write on this data item B, then there is a read on B and there is a write on A, like this. Now check. So I'm starting with my growing phase and I want to read this data item, right? So I'm applying this shared locking. So this is a shared locking on the data item. Okay. After some time I want to read this data item B, so that's why I'm not unlocking it, because I'm at growing phase. Now again this is a write B, so write B, so I'm able to apply the exclusive lock on the B, because उससे पहले किसी ने इस आइटम के ऊपर कोई भी लॉक नहीं लगाया हुआ, right? After that again T1 come and wants to read this data item B, but this is a conflicts pair, and data item is in the exclusive we apply the exclusive locking on data B, so it denies. ठीक है, he is waiting for T2 so that he release the data item, and then this is a write A. So write A data item पे भी already एक lock लगा हुआ है जो कि shared lock है, and this is also conflict pair, right? So he is waiting for T1. So now this whole process is in the deadlock. We can say that Z phase locking, this is 2 phase locking protocol, not deadlock free. Basic 2 phase locking protocol is also not deadlock free, strict भी नहीं है, rigorous भी नहीं है, but conservative है, जो कि deadlock free schedule हमें दे देता है. But this type of protocol is not practically in use, that's why we are not considering this case. ठीक है. So we can say that it ensures conflict serializability. 2 phase locking protocol ensures serializability, but it is not deadlock free. You can see this example. Okay. Now let's come to the timestamp ordering protocol. Timestamp ordering protocol होता क्या है? So in the timestamp ordering protocol, we ensure that any conflict read or write operation, जैसे कि this is the conflict pair read and write, right? On the same data item, right, like this. So basically this timestamp ordering protocol ensures that any conflict read and write operations are executing in timestamp order. Timestamp order का मतलब क्या है कि let's suppose this transaction T1 ये पहले आई and this transaction T2 T1 के बाद आई, तो इसका जो timestamp होगा वो T1 का 1 होगा, and timestamp of this transaction T2 is equal to 2 because ये उसके बाद आई है. Okay. Now if the timestamp of this is 1 and timestamp of this is 2, right? So अगर timestamp with the help of this example I'm going to explain you. Let's suppose this is a read A, right? And now transaction T2 comes जिसका टाइम स्टैम्प है 2, बिकॉज तो ये क्या है, दिस ट्रांजेक्शन T1 क्या हुई, ओल्डर ट्रांजेक्शन, एंड T2 क्या हुई, हमारी यंगर ट्रांजेक्शन. अब मान लो रीड दिस यू कैन से इस डेटा आइटम्स, लेट्स सपोज ये भी डेटा आइटम ए ही है और ये इसके ऊपर राइट ऑपरेशन करना चाहता है. ओके, नाउ यू कैन सी दैट टू फेज लॉकिंग प्रोटोकॉल में दिस इज नॉट पॉसिबल, बिकॉज अगर हमने इसके ऊपर शेयर्ड लॉक लगा दिया तो वी आर नॉट एबल टू अप्लाई द एक्सक्लूसिव लॉक ऑन द सेम डेटा आइटम्स, बिकॉज उससे पहले हमें इसे अनलॉक करना पड़ेगा. और एक बार हम ग्रोइंग फेज में है तो अगर एक बार हम श्रिंकिंग फेज में आ गए तो दोबारा हम ग्रोइंग फेज में नहीं जा सकते. तो दिस टाइप ऑफ पॉसिबिलिटी इज नॉट पॉसिबल इन द टू फेज लॉकिंग प्रोटोकॉल. बट इन द टाइम स्टैम्प ऑर्डरिंग प्रोटोकॉल क्या कहता है कि अगर उसे उस डेटा आइटम को राइट करना है और इसका जो टाइम स्टैम्प है, टाइम स्टैम्प ऑफ ट्रांजेक्शन T2 का अगर ज्यादा है टाइम स्टैम्प ऑफ T1, मतलब टाइम स्टैम्प जो ये ट्रांजेक्शन अगर ये यंगर प्रोसेस है एज कंपेयर टू द ट्रांजेक्शन T1, देन हम क्या करेंगे, इसे अलाउ कर देंगे कि ये राइट कर सकता है. राइट, नाउ अगेन नाउ यू कैन सी दैट लेट्स सपोज ये भी इसे राइट करना चाहते हैं. आफ्टर सम टाइम T1 ऑल्सो राइट दिस डेटा आइटम A. नाउ वी सी दैट क्या टाइम स्टैम्प ऑफ T1 ग्रेटर है टाइम स्टैम्प ऑफ T2 से, बट इट इज नॉट ग्रेटर बिकॉज इसका टाइम स्टैम्प 1 है और इसका टाइम स्टैम्प क्या है 2, मतलब ये ओल्डर प्रोसेस है. सो हम ओल्डर प्रोसेस के लिए ये अलाउ नहीं करेंगे, और अलाउ नहीं करेंगे तो इसे क्या करेंगे, हम रोल बैक. इन दिस केस वी आर रोल बैक दिस होल ट्रांजेक्शन T1, एंड उसके बाद ट्रांजेक्शन T1 दोबारा स्केड्यूल में आएगा विद द न्यू टाइम स्टैम्प. अब क्या टाइम स्टैम्प रहेगा, दोबारा से अगर वो रोल बैक होके वापस आएगा, T1 का टाइम स्टैम्प अब क्या होगा, इसका 2 था तो वो उसके बाद आया, तो अब इसका टाइम स्टैम्प हो जाएगा 3. फिर दोबारा से अगर वो रिक्वेस्ट करता है राइट करने के लिए A को और रीड करने को B को, तो वी आर चेकिंग कि ओके ही वांट्स टू राइट दिस डेटा आइटम A एंड टाइम स्टैम्प ऑफ T1 नाउ ग्रेटर देन द T2, फिर हम इसे दोबारा से अलाउ कर देंगे. सो दिस इज द होल प्रोसेस, राइट. सो इन दिस वे डेडलॉक भी फ्री हो जाएगा एंड कॉन्फ्लिक्ट सीरियलाइजेबिलिटी तो इंश्योर होगी ही होगी. सो इन द टाइम स्टैम्प ऑर्डरिंग प्रोटोकॉल में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट सीरियलाइजेबिलिटी भी इंश्योर हो रही है एंड फ्रीडम फ्रॉम डेडलॉक भी पॉसिबल है. सो ऑप्शन थर्ड is the right one, because only B is the one which ensures both conflict serializability and free from the deadlock. Okay. Now question number 18. A drop table can not be used to drop a table referenced by which constraint? Okay. Now let's talk about the keys first, then we will talk about the drop table and then we'll come back to the question. So the first one is primary key. Primary key basically when we have more than 2 candidate keys, so among them we are selecting the one primary key. और वो primary key कौन सी होंगी, जिनकी सारी values क्या होंगी, distinct होंगी, और जिसकी सारी values क्या होंगी, null नहीं, null should not be allowed in the primary key. Okay, so उसमें we are not referred any attribute and all. उसके बाद there is a super key. Super key basically it's a set of attributes which is uniquely identifies a tuples. So इसमें भी कोई we are not referencing anything. What about the foreign key? So foreign key basically if an attribute if an attribute can only take the values which are present as values of some other attributes. जैसे कि there is one table and there is one table and इसके कुछ attributes है जो कॉलम्स में यहाँ प्रेजेंट होते हैं, उन्हें हम क्या कहते हैं, एट्रीब्यूट्स, राइट. सो दिस एट्रीब्यूट रेफर टू दिस एट्रीब्यूट विच इज प्रेजेंट ऑन अनदर टेबल, राइट. नाउ दिस इज द रेफरेंस्ड एट्रीब्यूट and this is a referencing attribute. Now the referenced attribute should be a primary key and this referencing attribute we call it a foreign key. Now in the drop table cannot be used as a table referenced by a foreign key constraint. So in the drop table we basically use to delete the whole database, or you can say that just a table. So basically it destroys the objects like existing your database, indexes, tables and all, right? So we reference by a foreign key constraint. Okay. Now question number 19, database applications were built directly on a top of file system to overcome the following drawbacks of using file systems. The first one is data redundancy and inconsistency. B is difficulty in accessing data. C is data isolation, and the D is integrity problems. So if we talk about the file systems, there is some drawbacks in the file system like data isolation. And data isolation means that if let's suppose isolation means that if two transaction executed concurrently, एक साथ दो transactions अगर हमारी run कर रही है, then operation of one transaction should not interfere the other transactions, right? So this type of isolations is missing in the file system. Duplication of data is possibility in the file system. Dependency on application program is also there in the file system. So the advantages of DBMS is, the first is no redundant data should be present, right? So this is the first you can say advantage of the database, in which data redundancy and inconsistency we removed it. The second one is difficulty in accessing data is a drawback of the file system, right? Now with the help of database we make the easy access of the data, as we already discussed about isolation, and there is a integrity problem is also the drawback of the file system. So all are the drawbacks of the file system. So option 4 is the right one. Now let's come to the question number 20. For a weak entity set to be meaningful, it should be associated with another entity set in combination with some of their attribute values, is called as neighbor set, strong entity set, honor entity set, or fourth one is weak entity set. So there is one entity is employee, there is one relation, and they are the dependent. Okay, and this is the employee ID is there, and dependent names, and some other attributes like, right? So now dependent names may like the name is A, name is B, name is C, like this. Employee ID is unique, it is a primary key which is unique. All the employees have their own ID and which is unique. So ID is like 1, 2, 3, right? The name of the dependents may be repeated, like 2 persons. It is possibility that 2 person has their same names. So like A, B, C, D and all. Now we can say that this is a weak entity, because with the help of this we are not able to represent that this dependent is belongs to this employee, right? Because agar A, the name of this person is A, right? And it belongs to, this person belongs to, let's suppose, employee ID 1, and this same name belongs to the employee ID 2. Now how we are able to identify whether this dependent A belongs to employee ID 1 or 2 and all? So we can say that this is a weak entity. Without the help of this we are not able to uniquely identify this. So we can say that with the combination of employee ID and the name, then we can say that yes, जिसकी employee ID 1 है and उसका क्या है कि dependent name is A. For employee ID 2, dependent name is A, because the name can be repeated. किसी भी दो dependents के जो नाम है वो सेम कर सकते हैं, बट employee ID का क्या रहेगा कि उनके जो IDs होंगी वो तो different रहेंगी, right? So we can say that this is a weak entity and this is the strong entity. For a weak entity set to be meaningful, उसे meaningful बनाने के लिए कि dependent वो किससे belong कर रहा है, कौन से employee से वो belong कर रहा है, it must be associated with another entity set, और उस entity set को हम क्या कहेंगे, strong entity set. इन कॉम्बिनेशन विद सम ऑफ देयर एट्रीब्यूट वैल्यूज. एट्रीब्यूट वैल्यू क्या होगी? एम्प्लॉय आईडी. अगर एम्प्लॉय आईडी को हम नेम के साथ ऐड ऑन कर देंगे देन वी आर एबल टू आइडेंटिफाई कि इस एम्प्लॉय का ये डिपेंडेंट है. ओके, सो दिस द करेक्ट आंसर इज स्ट्रॉन्ग एंटिटी सेट.